Good afternoon. Today I'm very happy to welcome Mrs. Angela Joy. She's an actress, and anchor woman and journalist talking to us. You're in Idaho right now. Ohio, sorry.
Utah,
Right.
actually.
Utah, yes. How are you? Thank you very much for accepting the live. How's everything?
It's good. Weather's beautiful. We're getting lots of rain. We've needed the moisture, so that's great.
Great, great. First, I want to ask you, how did you get inspired to venture into becoming an artist and actress and journalist, and what did you study?
Um, I grew up with parents who like to play around on stage and do some performances. I was raised to um, study history, religion, and politics. I had a big variety of things that I was raised with. I used to mess around on stage and theater, but I didn't really take it seriously. My college studies were business, fashion, interior design, and psychology. So I just kind of dabbled in a lot of things. But when I became a single mom, I enrolled my kids in some acting courses, and I'm the one who ended up with the agent. I'm the one who got the bug and really loved the art form of film. But I really wanted my kids just to get confidence in front of people. If you have to give a talk or a speech, or if you want to express yourself, it's good to get used to cameras and people watching you, right?
Yes. And I've seen you have interviewed many artists throughout your career. This is correct?
Well, I've worked with a lot of big names. Yes, I've worked
Uh-huh.
with a lot of big names in Hollywood, from all of the Touched by an Angel cast to
Yes.
Billy Zane, Sharon Stone, Marsha Cross, Winona Judd, Anne Heche, who I'm very sad at her passing. Um,
Of course. And Treat
there's
Williams, I think you worked with him as well.
oh yes, Treat Williams.
Trey.
I did work with um, the whole Everwood cast, which is Emily
Mm-hmm.
Van Camp and Chris Pratt, who's a really big name right now. They launched their careers from Everwood. I
Yes.
worked with all of those people. Yes, great actresses, a lot of fun.
Yes. And tell me, according to your experience, what were the challenges you faced through the different stages of your career?
Um, I think the challenges were that I personally, being a single mom, wanted to keep my kids stable.
Yes.
I never went the Hollywood route. I didn't go to Hollywood. What I did was mostly in the Utah area, but we had a lot of film here. So I guess the challenges were that I didn't get the audition opportunities that would have launched me, further into bigger and bigger roles, because I put my family first. And I think that was the biggest challenges. I had to make decisions about my priorities. And the casting situation in Utah is very limited. So that was my biggest, probably the biggest
Challenge.
trials. Yeah, the challenges I
Mm-hmm.
had. Yeah.
This means when you get cast in a role, you used to travel to California, or the shooting were in your hometown.
Most of what I was cast for was filming in Utah, so I was filming
Uh-huh.
here. Um, so you can get cast, uh,
Uh,
if you
if
know
you
the
live
right.
there, yes. If you
Yeah,
know the right people. Hmm.
right. So for instance, when I worked with Don Johnson on Blood and Oil, I was doing a lot of Amber Valletta's work, Chase Crawford, and Rebecca Rittenhouse. I worked with them closely, and they were writing a script for me. I was going to have a role. I was really excited about it. They even asked me what I wanted to play, so I got to choose my role. It would have been recurring, and then ABC shut down the series. So that's kind of my lot in
Yes.
life.
Yes. But tell me, I know in Utah they organize, Robert Redford organize Sundance Festival,
Yes.
and
Mm-hmm.
many filmmakers launch their career through this festival. But I want to ask you, being, like you live there, do you think that this part of the United States needs more to become, the industry there is bigger? What does it need for the industry to be bigger and competitive, like other states like New York, California, Miami, Florida?
Well, I'll tell you what, I lived next door to Sterling Van Wagenen for 2 years, and I had that privilege of getting to know him. He was Robert Redford's right-hand buddy when they started Sundance. So the two of them were very close and started Sundance together, but Robert Redford gets all the credit for it. So the newspapers here
Yes,
did. The newspapers here had a big write-up on Sterling and how much he'd contributed to that process. What Robert Redford was concerned about is that the small movie maker who wants to launch an idea was getting suffocated because Hollywood was taking over Sundance and other big film festivals. So the same people keep getting the big opportunities. In fact, I think the last small film that I've seen launch into something huge was Napoleon Dynamite. And that
the
was,
comedy.
yes, a
Hmm.
comedy.
Yes,
And so I do believe, with the new studio here and the people who are trying to do film in Utah, I believe they've made some mistakes. I think they made a mistake when they lost Yellowstone. I was in the pilot of
yes.
Yellowstone.
Hmm.
I think they've made some mistakes in terms of how they want to expand Utah's film industry. I do think we need a better Hollywood. I think Hollywood's is being overhauled. I believe that the child trafficking and the Satanism, the pedowood label that's been put on Hollywood right now is
Yes.
doing horrible things for the film
Hmm.
industry. And I think we're going to see a huge overhaul. And I do hope Utah takes advantage of that. I think we could become a film hub here, but they've got to make the right choices.
Hmm. Angela, my wife, her name is Luz Angela. She's Colombian, and we live here in Ecuador. I'm from Egypt, and she was very touched and haunted by Sound of Freedom.
Yes.
Okay, and we watched it two times before it comes here. It will come near the end of the month here in Ecuador. We were worried if they're gonna show it, in Latin America because it was shot across, Colombia and Argentina.
Mhm.
And what I want to ask you really, because you are a citizen of another state, uh, the topics you spoke about, are very critical, and it involves, I think, many people, celebrities, businessmen. I mean, people with power. But I want to ask you your perspective. Why do this part of the United States would like to imply their culture on the other parts of the United States? Because I know the United States is very huge. I visited few states before, like Los Angeles, California, Florida, and everywhere I go, there are different, it's a different people with different cultures, but the things coming from Hollywood, either the practice of many people there, or the injection of many of the production in the recent year, they want to imply a certain, I don't want to call it agenda, but how do you describe it according to your perspective? Especially you are a mother with kids, and of course you meet lots of young people around you.
Well, first of all, tell your wife I worked with Manolo Cardona in
Yeah.
with Sharon Stone in the movie Border Run, which is
Yes.
it did not do well here. It did well in
Yes.
Latin Central America,
Yes.
and I did her stunt work and double work,
Yes.
and yeah. So and also Jonathan Rumi, who
Yes.
plays Jesus. I've worked with him. He's
Yes.
Coptic. He's Coptic Egyptian, so I thought you'd like
Oh,
that.
yes.
Uh,
Yes, of course.
um, but what I see is the the need to control our minds
Uh-huh.
is so vastly important to those
Uh-huh.
who believe in a very, very dark demonic god, and and this is deep history. This goes back. I have a podcast series called Wrap Up News, and this goes back way to Nimrod. It's biblical, and this belief system and this worshiping of certain gods has not left our culture. In fact, it's gotten even worse. It's worse than we
Uh-huh.
can possibly imagine. But we have the technology to
Uh-huh.
hide. We are
Uh-huh.
hiding, politically hiding a lot of the very evil abuses that people don't want to. We can't wrap our heads around it because we don't think evil could be that bad. And
Uh-huh.
I think that pulling pulling cultural issues into Hollywood is partly to try and cause a division among people. It's to
Uh-huh.
try and so that we can't see each other as human beings. We can only see, their culture, their skin color, where they came from, what they might do to hurt us. All of these
Yes.
things. I tell people go to Family Search or Ancestry.com and find your heritage. You'll find out your 5, 6 different cultures are in your blood already, and nobody is a pure blood anything, and that helps people to figure out kind of where they came from and what they should value and who they are, and then
Mm-hmm.
and then we don't have to look at each other culturally. We don't have to look
Mm-hmm.
at each other as being sorry, as being weird or different.
Mm-hmm.
I think we can learn from each other.
Mm-hmm.
I think we can accept each other's differences. I was probably raised very differently from the way you were raised.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But there's a point where you and I have to think for ourselves and decide if we can get along, even if we have different beliefs.
Yes. Speaking of implying ancient cultures or demonic culture, there are two things. When you talk to me right now, I remember watching an old film with William Shatner and called The
Hello.
Devil's Rain. The Devil's Rain, and it's about a small town across near the border of Mexico. It's a very famous film because I think it was the debut of John Travolta, even before he does Grease and Saturday Night Fever. And it was about this demonic cult, who has a church, and they try to capture the soul of believers,
Mhm.
and this movie gave me the creep, and it was not a graphic film. So a graphic film, when you see a lot of special effects, it's a low budget film, you know. But I mean, it's right now a fiction, or becomes reality. And the other thing, I don't know if you heard of a rapper from the United States. His name is Travis Scott, you know. And if you browse the YouTube and the internet, he had many, demonic gestures in his concert, and a
Mhm.
lot of people died because they listened to his music. The way his music is mixed, can pick on the nerves of people. And the reason I mentioned to you because he tried to have a concert near the pyramids last month in Egypt, you know, and but a lot of people in Egypt there was like a campaign against canceling his concert, you know, because when you see his music, his performance, his lyrics, and the you know the sets, the decor of his film, of I mean of his concert, you feel that you know he's also trying to push a certain you know agenda like that. And yeah, I mean, right now it's obviously as well through the social media is very critical, you know. But let's go back to your to festivals. I want to ask you because I've read a lot about Slam Dance Festival. It's still going on, and does it help independent filmmakers like Sundance used to before?
Yeah. I mean, if you the pandemic, which is what I call
Yes.
it, did a certain amount of damage to how people could get to view those films and to be you know, Park City will be swarmed with millions of people. It's crazy in January up there with the festival, and so
Mm-hmm,
the pandemic kind of changed the way some things were done.
mm-hmm,
But yes, the festival is still going on. People still can submit films. I'm not sure what the deadlines are, but
mm-hmm,
if you go just to a general film festival website and look up how many there are. Arizona has two huge ones, or Nevada. I think it's Nevada
mm-hmm.
or Arizona has two
Yes.
very large ones. And there's more and more film festivals popping up. Again, I know the concern with Robert Redford was that how if you don't have the money to do a big budget film and you enter your idea, and then someone from Hollywood shows up that has entered, you know, several films, and they have the money to do it really well. What are your chances? That's the problem with the Sundance right now, is that it seems to have lost its interest. Robert's dream was to make sure there was a lot of fresh ideas out there
Yes.
to keep new. You know, how many how many superhero movies do we need? Where you know, I'm looking back and thinking, you know, Hogan's Heroes and uh, the $6 Million Man and Love
Yes.
Boat and all of these iconic ideas that just did so well. You can't really. Charlie's Angels, I don't think we can touch very well. I think they tried. But
Yes.
we need more and more fresh ideas instead of Hollywood remaking the old ones over and over again.
Of course. You know, and because of the flop of many superhero films this summer, I think a lot of critics and also people involved in the industry, they, you know, they think that, you know, the superhero genre is saturated right now
Yeah.
or oversaturated. I mean, I saw The Flash here at home, you know, and I mean, it's I don't know, it's not as good as the previous film. I mean, compared to Zack Snyder trilogy, compared to Tim Burton's work, compared to the first Superman I've seen. Superman was Christopher Reeve in cinema, you know, and you know, although the technology is different, you still watch this one, you know, and appreciate, you know, the creativity in this film, you know.
Well,
So yeah, please go ahead.
when I say you have a journey to becoming a film critic, and there's a reason you love that, and
Yes,
that's an interesting story. I think we should hear. But I just wanted to point out though that, you
yes,
know, both Indiana Jones and another
yes.
film, Mission Impossible film, which I actually love that series.
Yes.
But they were outdone by Sound of Freedom, which means
Yes.
we're waking up the world to what's being hidden from us. And that's why
Of
I
course.
started my podcast series. This
Mhm.
is because I want to expose the things that the news won't report, things that our government is paying to hide, things that
Yes.
the big bankers and all of these people behind the scenes have been trying to keep us from knowing. So I don't get paid to put out this podcast. I just felt like people needed to get the information. I actually helped Tim Ballard. I tried to help get the information on his first film, The Abolitionist, which is named after the Underground Railroad situation under Niagara Falls when slaves were trying to escape, and that was the start for him to try and get this into film. And so, I'm thrilled that it's gone this far. It needed to happen.
Yes. Angela, I would like to ask you at the end of the interview, before my last question, I would like to ask how people can find your podcast, on which platform it is live.
So I've been banned from Facebook and YouTube, of course.
Really? Yes, that's why I didn't find your profile.
Yeah. I wear that with a badge of honor.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
but when you show
Mm-hmm.
real doctors and real medical people, coroners from around the world, when you show um, what's really going on from people who've been deep in the military and the Navy SEALs and so on, when you showcase that, they don't like you. So I'm on
Yes.
Rumble. You can look under
Rumble.
Angela. Yes, under
Yes.
Angela Joy on Rumble,
Yes.
and
Yes.
Telegram and Getter
Yes.
and Truth Social. I will also post my videos.
Great. And I heard as well that Twitter right now you can post videos as well, or you do lives. I heard
On
that
what?
as well.
On
On
what?
Twitter. On
On
Twitter.
Twitter. See, I'm not on
Yes.
Twitter. I'm not on Twitter, but I do endorse that people go watch Tucker Carlson.
Great.
But I'm not. Yeah, I'm not on Twitter. But maybe I should be.
Great. Last question. I want to ask you, do you have like a dream role or a dream project you would like to realize in the
Oh
upcoming
yes.
period? Yes.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Tell me.
Yes. Um, I'm afraid if I put it out there, it will be stolen.
Okay.
Um,
But you have something.
I do. If I
Yes.
was in the lucky position of being able to fund it, I
Yes.
do have a role I have written for myself. Um,
Great. Mm-hmm.
yeah, it would
Yes.
involve a lot of mystery, action,
Mm-hmm.
and mental twists and turns.
Very good.
Um,
Yes, this is something I missed in nowadays films. That's why I'm trying to watch again Brian De Palma and Hitchcock films, because I like this kind of, you know, um, claustrophobic, genre, psychological genre that
yeah.
I missed a lot right now in nowadays Hollywood, stuff like House of Game by David Mamet.
Well, I think we've got to get
Mhm.
back to learning how to use our minds and how to think and
Of
how to use
course,
deductive reasoning and how to figure out what's behind the scenes. I think we need to do that. I think it's
of
fun to
course,
do. Yeah, yeah.
of course. Angela, I want to thank you very much for this great interview. Appreciate your time and finding the time to come available. I wish you all the best in your upcoming project, and I congratulate you on being successful on both on the professional and the personal aspect. And I hope you can come back again. We can have another live with you soon. Hopefully, when you have a new project to announce as well.
I would love to, and I would also love to hear your backstory.
For sure, for sure, for sure. But, myself, I studied engineering, communication, and sound system, but I worked in the film industry since the 90s. Film distribution. I worked in distribution of American films, and as well I worked in a magazine, English magazine in Egypt called Egypt Today. I have some articles published in Variety and Hollywood Reporter, and been covering festivals as well, doing entertainment television shows. So I worked in a lot of aspects related to the film industry. But of course, after the COVID, you mentioned it was very difficult in many countries, to work. And
Mm-hmm.
we decided, me and my wife, to come back here in Latin America. And I'm still working here online. Um, I also do some technical stuff, like designing websites and handling social media for other people, you know. New technology, I mean artificial intelligence, automation. So I'm trying to be, very up to date with what's happening around us related to online technology around the world as well. This is me in a nutshell.
Well, that's good to know. I mean, we take a journey, don't we?
Of course, yes, long journey. Yes. Again, I want to thank you very, very much. Again, say hi to your family from outside here, and best of luck in your upcoming projects. And I look forward to have you again in our show here. Thank you.
Thank you,
Take
Sherif.
care.
It's
Have a
nice to meet
lovely, likewise. Have a lovely evening. Take care.
you. Bye bye.
Bye.